where you had to pay for your education. And so when they all came here in search of a better life at different times, 2 generations later, here I am with a doctorate in education and in a family of 5 siblings. All between us, I think we have about 20 different degrees, and all of them are graduate degrees. And you have to ask yourself, how does that happen in 2 short generations? And it happens because a community comes together and decides that this is something that's really important to them, that the success of one individual, any one of you sitting in this room, is really paramount. And so you've heard the other speakers today talk a lot about what it takes. Does it take a belief in happiness? Can we change our attitudes and change the world? Yes, we can. And does it take someone to believe in you, someone to take you out of your physical body and teach you to live in it and live fully? Yes, it does. It takes a whole community to bring us to our potential. And that's why 5 years ago, I founded this program here in the Puget Sound called Year Up. And when I told my mom, you can see it says Year Up there. Usually I have to explain to people that I didn't just say Europe, because then they think I'm trying to work for a continent as opposed to an organization. And 5 years ago, we brought Year Up to Seattle and this whole region. Year Up is actually a 14-year-old nonprofit that works with young people. And why do we work with young people? Because we look at where is our greatest potential for change. It's in this generation. It's in young adults who are still able to make that change, to make that intellectual leap, if you will, and to make that change. Now, we all are able to do that. But when I look at what it will take to shift the fortunes of a generation and shift it so that that generation can see that they've made some change, it's this young adult population. Now, Year Up offers a program, and we work with a lot of young people who have been system involved, who have been former foster youth, who have been homeless. And at any time in our program, that can happen to them. They can go homeless. They can need the services of the system and the safety nets that is out there. And so what our program does, if you look up there, that's one of my last graduating classes. We provide a program that takes young adults from poverty to professional career in 1 year. And we do that by providing a huge stipend, about $10,000 a year to every individual who gets into the program, and 27 college credits, and a guaranteed 6-month internship at real great places like Microsoft and Google and Alaska Airlines and REI and Children's. I mean, some of the best places around here that really do believe in changing the next generation. Now, the program, let me keep going. Sorry, this is, as I mentioned, it's a year-long program, but let me get to something that's a little bit more fun to think about. Okay, how we do that? We help our young people build a community. I don't do anything. We bring a community of 40 young people in a class together, and what they do is they begin to care about each other. And how do they care about each other? Because as how some of our previous speakers have said, we teach them to look at the box that they believe that other people have put them in and teach them to choose. We teach them to center themselves in their bodies, to know what it is like to be where your feet are instead of being in a story that someone else gave you. We teach them to infect each other with happiness and trust. And these are habits that have been documented. I mean, you believe it or not, it is truly documented that being happier leads to greater success. It's actually true. Since this isn't there is a TED Talk on this, by the way, so if you look it up, there's a really cool guy out of Harvard who does this research, and it is fantastic, and it's amazing. But these young people, those are some of the folks from my very first class. They start to believe in each other because what we do is tell them you can, and then we show them how they can. But really, at the end of the day, it's about them. It's about what they can achieve together, and by building this sense of community. Now, because we just have to do this, we've got to get you up out of your seats because it is about that time where we all fall asleep. We do this through a series of interactives because you live in your body. You got to do stuff with it or your mind starts to go away. So we have this interactive that we call Wind Blows, and from the very first moment you come into our space, we make you do these crazy things because it makes you laugh, it makes you confront your vulnerability, and makes you trust each other. So I'm going to ask you to indulge me in this, and when I say the wind blows, for anyone who is wearing shoes today, what that means is get up and move your seat someplace else. Now when we do this, we take a seat away so that someone is left standing. You want to talk about vulnerability? It's Monday morning at 8 o'clock and you've just run in to make it so that you're not late for class, and we're going to do a wind blows and you're sitting there like, you're kidding. And if I don't find a seat, and I'm not allowed to knock anybody over, right? You have to be respectful. I'm going to be standing there, and Lisa's going to ask me a question about something. I'm going to have to tell everybody. So indulge me in this. When I say the wind blows, if it applies to you, please get up and move your seat. Okay? So the wind blows for anyone who brushed their teeth this morning. And then we get a little, this is how we build trust and get in touch with people's vulnerability. It starts with everything from the wind blows to anyone who woke up this morning, which should, in theory, be everybody. To things like the wind blows for anyone who's feeling, and this applies to you, the wind blows for anyone who really would like a cup of coffee or something hot right now. And so on and so on. You can see just a simple request like that starts to build a sense of community. Because if we can really go, when you start to believe in those simple little exercises, then you start to look around and see who else believes in those, who else has the same conditions that I do. And then you really have stuff to talk about, you have experiences that you begin to share, and then you build trust. So it's a really wonderful thing to think about what is the basis of community. And the basis of community is everyone in this room, an individual who gets in touch with their vulnerability and is willing to share that and recognize that not only are they here in their body, you know, whether they're shifting back and forth to recenter, whether they're thinking about 3 things that they're grateful for, or they're thinking about, I'm busting out of my own personal box today. These are things that we share with each other, and when we share this, we really can change the world. So one of the things, the model that how we do this, it's not just interactives and making people feel vulnerable and the things that I mentioned before. But at the end of the day, what makes our program very effective is that when we tell young people to come in, okay, so how many people have been involved with young people around ages 18 to 24? Either have them, been involved with them, know them. Well, you know that just saying, can you just get up and go get a job right now? If it was that easy, we'd all be employed, right? Or we tell ourselves, today I'm going to stop eating chocolate. Okay, so 5 seconds later I may be eating a candy bar, right? So if it was that easy, life would be very different for us. So the way it works for our young people is there's a contract, literally and emotionally and figuratively, but we'll talk about the literal contract. There's a contract that they sign when they first start up with us that says, I will be on time. I will be respectful. I will adhere to certain core values that are important to this community. I will not have my cell phone go off while I'm in class. Okay, so great intentions, right? Because what we're trying to do is get our young people ready for those internships and for jobs in the world and to be able to achieve the dreams that they set out for themselves. And so how do we enforce this? We have something called a contract that they literally sign, and if you have a behavioral infraction, that's what we call it, like let's say I'm late to class, I'm 1 second late, and the doors close. I just lost $15 off my stipend for that week. You're sort of like, what? How did that happen? And if you do it the second time, it's the same infraction, it's minus $25. And on a stipend that's only around $150 or $200 a week, that's a lot to get your attention. We learn very quickly that there are certain behaviors that are going to be more successful for us in the workplace than not. And when you look at the fact that between 85 and 100% of the graduates from this program in every class within 4 months of graduating, they're employed and they're making an average of $20 an hour at places like the ones that I mentioned before. And more than that, the potential and the power, the happiness, what they're able to achieve is amazing. And what I've said before is that this program, we don't go for the high achievers. We don't go for the young people who have A's. We don't go for the valedictorians. We go for the ones that show us their determination to succeed. And most of my students, I have no idea what their grades are. We don't ask. All we ask is, do you have a high school diploma or a GED? And that's all it takes. Are you low income? And that's all it takes. Over 20% of the young people in every class are former foster youth or former homeless youth. And at any given time in our program, between 10 and 20% of those young people will find themselves homeless or will find themselves needing a greater support from the system. And you know, it's not so much my story to tell, but there are students like Roel, who's here with me today, who's the spokesman for former foster youth, who make the most out of this program. Because when you think about it, I'll tell you a little bit about Roel's story. He's going to be here for Q&A, and he can tell you an awful lot more. When you've been in a place where you've had over 20 placements, where your mom died before your 7th birthday, where you've been in every possible place that a disadvantaged young person can find themselves, where you've been in jail, you've been in placements, you've been sleeping in couches, you've been on the street, and you've had everything in life thrown at you that you really hope you see a young baby never happens to them. Where do you find hope? Where do you find yourself? Where do you find support? Where do you find safety? And how can you possibly be vulnerable when you don't have enough to eat and you're cold? And this is, again, this isn't my story as much as it's Roel's. People who find themselves to us find within them that place where they're valued, where they can truly reach in and say, okay, I'm safe to be who I am. I'm safe because I found a group of people who actually care about me and who can see me and who are telling me that they're not giving me anything because I already have it. Well, how do I know I have it? If you intentionally and systematically get together a group of people and you have the staff, people who are there, and you reflect back to them that you do have it, and you show them through the work that you give them and through reflecting back, teaching, giving them tools to express this, to tap this, to see it in others and to recognize it, then miracles happen. People succeed. They grasp onto what is inside of them, and they find it. And then they find it in each other. And so, happiness and success can be contagious when you systematically and methodically lay the groundwork for it to happen, and you bring a community of people together who are absolutely committed to this type of change. And that's what I've been able to do, not just with this program, but in general. So when I see a lot of my young people on the street, because we've been here for 5 years now, and I can't ever walk anonymously down the streets of Seattle without running into someone. It's like, hey Lisa, how are you? Which is a really wonderful feeling to have, because they're just doing their thing. They're just doing their jobs. They're happy, they're whole, and they're human. And so, thank you for giving me this chance to share that with you today.